Call this meeting to order. Hold on, let me check to make sure. 6:03. It's October 11th, 2021. We're in the Common Council chambers. The meeting's been posted. The agenda has been out to the media. Please call roll.
Mayor.
Here.
Barnett.
Here.
Larson.
Here.
Mikulowski. Here. Kelly. Here. Anderson.
Here.
Holt.
Here.
Daniel.
Here.
Russing.
Here.
We have quorum. Please stand. Anybody need to sign in for public comments before? It's on the clipboard right there. Meanwhile, has any alderperson received public comment from any constituent they'd like to say or read? Go ahead, Gerald. While you look, I'll call up Virginia Roberts. Oh, never mind. Go ahead.
This is a letter from Stephen Schreier, 604 Reach Street. He says, I'd like to suggest the city offer to cover 1/2 the cost of snow removal along Lincoln Street using the bike pedestrian Pratt funds. This is a goodwill gesture to businesses and the reasonable use of those funds.
All right. Virginia Roberts.
Good evening. I'm Virginia Roberts from the Rhinelander District Library, and I would like to let you know that we unrolled a survey on Friday. We just posted this on our website. We do have paper copies at the library. These are for the library. It's kind of one of these things that if we don't know, we can't grow. So we want to know what everybody thinks. The QR code here will take you directly to the survey with a smartphone photograph. You just take a picture of it and it'll drop you right to the survey if you don't want to do it on paper, but we do have paper copies as well. So I'm pretty excited about all of this. This survey will be open until November 4th. No, November 5th. So that's Friday, November 5th. Does anybody, I guess you can't ask questions, it's just public comment. So.
Thank you.
I will leave copies of these and then I'll pick them up whatever doesn't get taken.
Jim, you got a picture of it? All right. Cole and Nola Kincaid. She changed her mind.
Well, if you had a pocket full of gummy bears, you would too. So I'm Cole Kincaid, the owner of 326 Lincoln Street, just around the corner, kitty corner from the Baptist. And I'm here for a rezone to bring it back to the original. And if you have any questions, I can answer. So
We can ask you when it comes up if that's the case. But this is public comment time, so we don't comment back. Oh, does Nola have something she want to say now?
you want me to say it? She wants to say Happy Halloween, everybody.
Oh, happy Halloween.
Awesome. Okay, that's our turn to say.
Tom Giroux. Hard act to follow there, Tom. Are you going to say happy Halloween too?
No. My name is Tom Giroux, 604 Reich Street. Master Gardeners and the tree board will be weeding the downtown tree spots, and I wanted to invite City Council, anybody who wants to join us, tomorrow at 4 till about 6 p.m. We want to get them cleaned up so that it's a good welcome in the spring for our tourists, because as you may have noticed, some of them looked a little ratty this summer, so we want to get them cleaned up, and you're invited. And then I did want to comment about the redistricting maps. I see our county clerk is here, and she's going to be I think talking about it later, she probably knows more than I do, but I would note that the original draft the county regional planning had produced had very little changes to city districts, but then because of some concerns in Pelican, they made some changes, and that has more drastic changes for the city districts. I still think they're reasonable. I'm not opposed to them in any way, but I just wanted to note that my council person will change from Daniel to Kelly, which is a pretty big change for me, and I just want to let Mr. Kelly know that, and Miss Daniel knows that we frequently have comments that we send to her, so expect to hear from us. Again, I'm not necessarily opposed to the changes. It's just, it's pretty different. The other thing it changes is I get another say in a council person. You know, it would be another 2 years before Daniel was up for election, so it kind of strengthens my voice at city council, I think, maybe a little bit. So, thank you. That's all I had.
Mayor's comments, once again, I'll withhold them and move along faster because that makes people appreciate me by far more.
I think we should point.
Yeah. Yeah, can you? What happened there?
Yeah, I just want to point out, just because there's one agenda item that we're going to be skipping tonight. It's the one that deals with the
Rezone.
inspections. Yeah. It's the discussion of inspection contracts with surrounding townships. That's because our zoning administrator couldn't be here this evening, neither could our city administrator. So we're going to take that item. So if anybody's here for that item, I know we found one person was here earlier, so I just wanted to think you should point that out.
There you go. It's pointed out.
Can I have one quick amendment to my comment?
Absolutely. You have a strong voice in this community now.
So the one thing that is important is that we get these maps adopted sooner rather than later, because candidates do change districts, and you know, if they want to run, it's December 1st when you file papers. So you know, we need these maps sooner rather than later, because it will let people know, and I know we'll have, I think, at least one vacancy, and people will need to know which district they're in to know if they're going to run or not.
Thank you. Presentations. Presentation by Pioneer Park Historical Complex on the 2021 season. Carrie.
Oh, I hit it off. So I'm just going to be brief here and spare you all 18 pages of my presentation. I just said that to see some squirming, which I have, so jokes aside. It was a wonderful season at Pioneer Park Historical Complex this year. Had visitors from 33 states and 12 different countries. Still tallying all the numbers from the summer, which usually takes me through about October, and to get everything wrapped up for hibernation. We will be open December 3rd and 4th and December 11th for Rhinelander Railroad Museum Christmas Open House. Last year we decorated the whole complex for Christmas and it was a big hit, so we're hoping to do that again and add some more lights as well, so that will beautify this city a little bit this Christmas season. Most importantly, I'd like to publicly thank all of the hard-working staff and volunteers that contributed to the complex's operation this summer. To all of the community and individual support the museum receives throughout the year, I'd like to thank the city staff and the Parks Department, all of whom I hold in extremely high regard, and to the City Council for its support in the preservation of our valuable history and for another great season at Pioneer Park Historical Complex. Just want to touch on just a couple of numbers here. This year we added the digital payment processing stuff at the gift shop. Our 7-year average for gift shop sales is about $4,700, and this year we did over $13,000. Hopefully going to be more next year because there's a lot of issues with getting things into the gift shop. Like everybody's having a hard time getting things. So hopefully I can get behind the ball a little bit quicker next spring and boost those numbers up even more. But excellent season. Our 7-year average for visitors per day is 102. This year we had 110 visitors per day. So it was excellent. I did have the report which is a preliminary report since it doesn't have the 100% completed numbers in for this season, included in your packet. So if you have any questions or otherwise, that's all I got for tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gerald. Gerald has a question for you, I think.
It's not a question. I'm
Okay.
just happy to see the good numbers. And in the last 2 months, I've done quite a bit of touring out west and around Wisconsin. And it seems like every little town I've been in has a museum that they're quite proud of and that produces a draw for tourists. And so I think anything we can do to improve the marketing of our museum and things like that would benefit the whole town.
Thank you. Thank you. Moving on, meeting minutes, approval of the September 27th, 2021 council meeting minutes, page 5 in your packet.
Daniel, make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from September 27th.
Barnett, second.
We have a motion, and a second. Gerald?
Yeah, I had several things. I like the additional, seems like additional description of what went on in the discussions. I just note that on the voting, it shows correctly that I think Daniel was absent, but on the roll call, somehow it got her reversed with Larson. So it says Larson was absent and he was here.
Okay.
So
Mayor, you'll take note of
that's
that?
one correction.
Thank you.
The other one, well, on page 7, page 7, there are 3 times in that long paragraph where the word DUE should be DO, and the word IT apostrophe S should lose the apostrophe. Well, 2 of those, 3 of the do things. Where is that? Okay, page 7. Under the uppercase letters, the second line at the very end should be DO and then ITS. About 10 lines down from there toward the left, change is hard and how people do DO. And I always like change. And then 7th line from the bottom, right in the middle, did its due diligence should be no apostrophe, DO, and I suppose it should be diligence with an NCE. And then I have one more thing.
Okay.
Since the way this is written, it says Anderson read his submitted papers. I've handed out to all of you what I actually read that night. I had sent something out before, but what I actually read is this one tonight, and I'm wondering if that should be attached to the minutes.
Sure. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
But Gerald, you're asking to amend the minutes, correct?
For all of the things I've mentioned? Or
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Well, because the motion on the floor right now is to approve the minutes as presented, but you suggested 3 or 4
Okay.
changes. So I would take that as a motion by you to ask that the minutes be amended pursuant to those items plus the addition of the sheet to the, so you're making that motion,
Okay.
correct?
That's what I'd like. I'd like to move that the minutes be amended with the
Do we have a second?
several items you mentioned plus the addition of my comments.
Rossing, second.
We have a motion and a second on the amended meeting minutes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, so now you've amended the minutes, now you got to vote to approve the amended minutes.
So on the first motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it, motion carries.
Thank you.
Report from the October 5th Planning Commission is page 10 in your packet. And thank you, Carrie.
Michalowski, motion to approve the October 5th, 2021 Plan Commission minutes.
Anderson, second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. All right. Ordinance 2021-12 map amendment rezoning for the property located at 326 Lincoln Street, parcel RH 616 from B1 Neighborhood Business District to R2 Single or Two-Family District, with waiving the request for a second reading. This is page 13 in your packet. Harold?
Should I just ask, do we need to approve the waiver of the second reading first, or should that come after?
No, you'd have to approve the waiving of the second reading first, then you can act on the motion.
Okay, I move that we waive the second reading on this ordinance.
Daniel, second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. And now on the ordinance 2021-12 map amendment. I'll accept a motion.
I move adoption of ordinance 2021-12, map amendment rezone for property at 326 Lincoln Street, parcel RH 616, from B1 to R2 with, oh, that's it.
Holt, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. I'd like, if we have any historians here to figure out whether or not this is the longest zoning of a property or the shortest zoning of a property ever. Steve, do you know? Might as well ask you. No? Schreier. Yeah. Everybody asks Tom stuff, so every once in a while I just want to throw something your way, man. Come on. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. You are now R2. Thank you. And you can leave anytime you want to. You're welcome to. You don't have to sit through the rest, but. All right. Bye. Ordinance second reading. Discuss approval of ordinance. Oh, wait a minute. Excuse me. B. Yeah. Ordinance 21-13 Rhinelander Public Arts Commission creation 2.01.166. It's page 14 in your packet, and Gerald handed out some amended portions to that too. Gerald?
Yeah, I'd like to move adoption of ordinance 2021-13, Rhinelander Public Arts Commission creation of 2.01.166 with the changes that I've handed out.
Yeah. There's a motion on the floor, but I would ask also that this gets waived so that the Public Arts Commission can get moving. It's sat before us.
This is the second reading, isn't it?
Oh, it is a second reading. No. This is the first reading of the current version.
No, we had, this was up on the agenda before, so this one can be approved tonight.
Okay.
This has been before this body before. We talked about the Arts Commission before. It's really the second consideration of the.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Who was the second on that?
Nobody?
Holt, I'll second that.
Can someone repeat what the motion is, just so everyone's aware of what's...
You're moving to establish the creation of 2.01.166, which is the establishment of a Rhinelander Public Arts Commission. This is ordinance number 2021-13 as it appears in your material. That's what you're voting on.
All right.
In the conditions were handed out from Gerald, which are some spelling, some preferred languages, and so on. You have it before you, so it'll also go to our card. So, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's
Did you have some discussion that you wanted to?
I did. If I called at the last second, I apologize.
All right, well, I'm gonna concede and let you bring up your topic or issue.
Are these, Gerald, changes aesthetic, or do they completely change any meanings in it?
Go ahead, click your button, Gerald. Sorry.
I would say a little more than aesthetics, but not changing the meaning as I understand it. No, I didn't intend to change any meaning, except maybe that last one I added something. The others are mostly getting it so it's consistent that the verbs are shall rather than some other form of a verb. I wanted to get ahead of Eileen on that.
If I may, just out of a request, alderperson to alderperson, would it be possible for when you have things like this and the corrections to be emailed to our secretary to make the corrections before we vote on it, so we don't have to do all these amendments and everything? This could have easily been changed a while back ago, and given us more time to read exactly what you're suggesting to change. It doesn't look like anything that would change much, but just out of consideration not to present us with something like this on the night we're actually going to vote on it, if I may.
Gerald?
I'm not disagreeing with what he said. I thought we had been advised by council that we're not supposed to send emails to each other, so.
Not to me,
it would be to Teresa. The packet comes out like Wednesday, and I'm not saying that that's a big deal, which gives an opportunity. Now, granted, Teresa's on vacation, which is a consideration, but we could amend this as, as close as Monday or whatever.
Okay, all I can say is I try to do that. Sometimes I succeed and sometimes I don't. And this time I was drawn too much of the last week to do that. No. And that, as I see it, is part of the reason for having two readings, that we have some time in between. And, I thought this two-reason business was crazy at first, but now I think maybe that's a good substitute for having committees in some way. That does give us time.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor?
Any further discussion?
Yeah,
Steve.
now that I've had a chance to read all of these suggested corrections, I want you, as a council, to know that none of these changes are necessary. They do not correct anything. It's just a different way of saying the exact same thing. The statements that are used, for example, in the first one, it says the Rhinelander Public Arts Commission consists of, that's a statement, and you don't need the word shall. It's not germane or necessary. So I just, before you, the other ones were correct. Do was misspelled. I mean, I understand that. But every one of these are simply a preference of one person over another person. And I just want the council to know that, because I think sometimes the presumption is that these were mistakes that were made when this was drafted. And I maybe take some umbrage because Zach and I and Teresa went over this about 14 times. So that's why I was wondering, where did we make a mistake? But I don't care if you change the language because they don't change the meaning. The only one that changes the meaning is under the number 4, where it says that if denied, an applicant can submit to the city council for consideration. You're using the word, and the new word would be overrule the decision. It's not necessarily overruling the decision, because the council would be able to make whatever decision they want, is what it's intended. If the person on the administration says that they're denying the permit. The concept there was there'll be some things that, quite frankly, the administrator is not going to want to make the decision. He's going to want, or she's going to want, to put it before the council. That's why it was put together the way it was. Just so you have that background. I just wanted to point that out to the group.
And I would like to, how do we change the motion to amend it?
Make a motion.
Parliamentary, yeah, but he's asking to change it back.
No, I mean, and again, from Zach and I and Teresa, we don't care. We just want you to understand. It doesn't change the meeting at all. It's just different language. So I would just leave it the way it is.
Okay.
I mean, I just want, and this is what I think you were asking before, Tom, is we should see these things before the meeting, and if you submit to the
Correct.
the administration, we'll look at these things. We always do that, Gerald. You give us, Zach or I, something, we go look at it right away and try to get it corrected before the meeting. So the problem that and so you are being correct, you can't go to the council because that's a walking quorum then. But if you go to the administration, then the administration sends it out. That's not a walking quorum. That's information coming from the administration. I have nothing further.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Discuss approve ordinance 2021-11 creating 4.03.059.2 possession and or use or sale of marijuana, hashish, or any form thereof, and subsequent non-criminal offenses prohibited. Whoop it. Yep.
Holt, I will make a motion to approve ordinance 2021-11, creating 4.03.059.2, possession, use, and/or sale of marijuana, hashish, any form thereof, and subsequent non-criminal offenses prohibited.
Michalowski, second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Gerald.
I'm going to ask the same question I asked last time, is what in the world does subsequent non-criminal offenses, which sounds like an oxymoron in itself, prohibited, what in the world does that mean? And and what part of the ordinance does it apply to?
Please click the button.
As I said last time, it applies to the penalty section. This is not a criminal statute. That's why we use non-criminal and the subsequent reference to the non-criminal. None of these things are criminal activities. These are all forfeiture actions under Wisconsin law, and that is non-criminal. Criminal means you can be incarcerated. None of this can lead to incarceration.
Except failure to pay, I guess, yeah.
Failure to pay cannot lead to incarceration. It can lead to contempt of court, and a court then, based on contempt of court, can put someone in jail, but not the penalty for the violation. That's what the judge has to order them to go to jail, though. Which one are you reading?
Click your button, please. Sorry.
I'm reading 2021, under penalties, item number 4B. Says failure to pay the same shall be confined in the county jail for not more than 30 days.
That's a good catch, because that one can't be there.
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah, I would say that the failure to pay can't be there, but a judge has to find you in contempt of court in order to put you in jail, because it's a non-criminal offense.
So this needs to be rewarded.
Tom.
Can I get Chief Lloyd to speak on something?
Yeah, you can't go to jail.
So, in here, I knew I saw it in here before, and I couldn't, as I was driving by some places. But this would encompass the sale of Delta 8, correct?
Correct.
And I've seen 2 signs in business yards specifically saying, we sell Delta H THC here. So that would fix that, correct?
Yes, and we've been in contact.
Because right now they can legally
Both of those locations we've talked to.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure I was understanding it correctly,
Yes.
that was the stuff we're talking about
That's
here.
what our intent is, to
Okay.
protect our community.
Got it.
Real quick, as long as you're up there, Chief. I know a part of this too is even vaping and the amount of content of THC that can be in those also. What approximately is the cost of the test to find out if it has the THC in it?
The last time we did it, which was a couple of years ago, it was, trying to recall what the invoice was. It was less than $100.
Thank you. Gerald, did you have something?
Yeah, I'd like to move to table this to the next meeting, table the second reading to the next meeting, so we can get some of the language straightened out.
We already voted on this, actually, so we're gonna have to do something other than that.
No, this is the second reading,
is the
so
second.
it can be tabled for sure.
I understand. I thought that you already called the vote on it. That's all. Okay. I stand corrected.
There's a motion to table.
Daniel second.
There's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
All right. Ayes have it. It'll be tabled to the next meeting where it'll be cleaned up.
Just so I understand, the issue is the one that I pointed out. Was there any other issue anybody saw?
I have some other suggestions, but on the wording, if we get a chance, but I guess the main one would be the section number. To be consistent with what's in the codified ordinances, it seems like that last zero doesn't belong there. There's a .1 already. If this is .2, what does the zero do?
You'll have to show me after the meeting, Gerald. That's
Okay.
fine. I'll talk to you.
Yeah, thanks.
All right.
I have another question.
Yes.
Do we have an ordinance that specifically, well, I understand it's not criminal. Do we have an ordinance similar to this for regular marijuana?
Yes.
What ordinance number is that, please?
It's where we adopt the state statute.
It's the state statute.
Yeah. And we adopt the state statute.
Does the state have a statute pursuant to Delta 8 and Delta 10?
I don't believe so. I think that's why we're doing it. Correct. Wait, I'll have you
Well,
get up.
No,
Okay.
no, that's not correct. Those byproducts are illegal.
They are
Okay?
not illegal?
They are illegal,
They are illegal.
yes. You can't sell those products, okay? If they have a concentration that's over a certain level, okay? And the only way you can tell that, the only reason for this ordinance is so that we can test to make sure that it's not really marijuana.
Okay.
Okay? If you do not exceed the level of, and I'm not a chemist, okay? So please forgive me. But there's a level at which it goes from legal to illegal. You can call it whatever you want. I mean, Delta 8, Delta 7.5, call it what you want. The only thing we're talking about is this is the only statute would give us a right. If somebody said, I'm selling legal product here, and it's really illegal product, we don't have the right now to go into that store, take the product and go test it.
Okay, so let's say they go and test the product and it comes in at the legal levels.
Then
Do
nothing happens.
we then rescind this? Because it specifically calls out Delta 8 and Delta 10.
That's just how people are currently selling it. All this is saying is we have the right to go in and take a product and test it to see if someone is using a contraband material and saying that it's a non-contraband material. Does that make sense to you?
Yes and no. Because from what I understand, and I don't use these products, but from what I understand, the establishments that are selling them, which are businesses in our town, purchase them from someplace else. It's not like they're making them in the back room, as far as I know. So my question is, if they're purchasing it from someplace. I would assume that they have some sort of regulation on what is contained in those products, and they are selling them into a state that is where we have not legalized THC products. And okay,
Yeah,
I see him walking towards the podium. He's got an answer for me.
Just like CBD could be legal, could not be legal, if it depends on how much it is in the product. We had a store in Rhinelander that was selling a product. We got a sample of that and we tested it through a lab. The state crime lab will not test it, but they'll give you a reference to a private lab that tested it. We paid the money to have it tested, and it came above the legal limit. Therefore, all products were removed from the store of that product. So, and they also bought that product from a vendor. So they're going by what they're being told, but sometimes it's not exactly as it's advertised.
So you closed that store even though they had bought in good faith, or
Negative.
you just removed those products?
We removed that product.
Removed that product. So let's say we get it. It's a particular brand of Delta 8. You test it. It comes back at the legal limits. Is that brand of Delta 8 then okay for use in Rhinelander and won't be subject to testing going forward? I'm just curious. I'm wondering how much money we're going to invest in testing the same product over and over and over again.
Well, this is a new product, and this is one that has no age restriction on. And as Captain Camilleri now said a couple weeks ago, there's a major concern that any child could go in there and purchase this stuff, and that is concerning to us. And it depends on what the final wording of the ordinance is. That's in your guys' hand as to what exactly will be our enforcement measure. We're, as the police department and in charge of our safety of our community, we're coming to you asking for guidance on this product.
So this is something we could put an age restriction on. Here's what I'm saying. If this is a product that comes in at the legal limits and it's harmful, sure, alcohol is harmful to everyone, but especially to children or people under the age of 18. What if we put an age restriction on this rather than just going in and across the board saying product bad? That's just a suggestion.
Duly noted.
We'll come back with a report at the next meeting
Yeah.
for about an hour and a half. No.
Now. Unfinished business, there is none. Introduction of new business. The mayor's veto of the date of the citywide trick and treat was passed at the September 27th Common Council meeting. This was passed based on the fact that we believe that the chief was suggesting that was what he wanted, yet at the same time that wasn't necessarily the case. He brought it up as a question. Turn around, and the next day I'd heard from our council president that he received a fair amount of negative feedback as far as changing the date. It was duly noted that I asked at that meeting if we've ever changed the date before. I also started receiving some feedback and thought the easiest way to correct this as far as getting attention and allowing people to know it was the same date is to do it as a veto rather than waiting 2 weeks for it to come out again. That way the press release could go out. If nobody disagreed with me, which I didn't believe was the case, I didn't know that we had any solid reason to believe that it should be on that Saturday night. This is the reason I vetoed it. And at this point, if you want to overrule my veto, you have that opportunity. Moving on. Thank you. Yeah. I'm just trying to save time now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to count to 10.
Okay, the next item on the
Yes.
agenda.
Thank you. Discuss and approve the notice of claim from Dawn Rogg.
And I want everybody to understand, this is really a duplicate of something you've already seen before. It just put in a different way. Obviously, everyone has a right to file a claim against the city. The pretense was this was predicated on the fact that the city covered the expenses of other councilmen through the walking quorum case, which was a case against the city with the councilmen in their official capacity. The claim from Ms. Rogg is not based upon a claim against the city or something within her official capacity. My recommendation is you either let this claim die a natural death, which it can, if you don't act on it, or you deny the claim.
Larson, I'll make a motion to deny this claim and throw it in the garbage.
Holt, I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Tom?
Just out of curiosity, I was reading through these emails that Mrs. Rogg had sent to, I believe, Wendy on this one and Wendy on that one too, I guess. But something popped out at me that kind of confuses me. It said, also, as of this week, I am still receiving emails from city's payroll system on an email account I discontinued long ago, 324 hodag at suchandsuch.com.
Okay, Tom, if you're asking about the emails, we should really talk about that separately.
Okay.
We should talk about the claim right now, because that's really what's before the body.
Okay.
Well, we can talk about what she said in the email, because a lot of the stuff she said in the email has nothing to do with the claim, but we can discuss it if you wish.
Oh, yeah, okay.
As a different item.
Okay.
But let's stick with the claim for right now.
Gerald, the motion's to deny.
Yeah,
That was by Andrew.
I was going to ask for explanation of when we do and when we do not pay people's attorney fees, and you gave explanation. Am I correct in saying the main or only distinction is it in official capacity or not?
That would be a very clear way of suggesting, I mean, obviously I can't imagine every single instance, but that would be a very generic statement, yes. If you're acting within your official capacity, then you would have insurance coverage and the claim would be covered by your official capacity through the insurance coverage that we have with the city, because we indemnify under that.
It's my understanding these charges are brought against Mrs. Rogg as a private citizen, is that correct?
Again, I don't want to go into the...
I understand, but we're trying to figure out if we're going to accept or deny these claims, and so I need to know why they were incurred.
The claim that she's asking for is a payment of legal fees that she engaged, not through the city, not through the insurance. She did it on her own, and it was because the charges had been not filed, but there was an incident report submitted that involved her in non-official capacity.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries.
And as far as the issue of, we'll talk, Tom, about those other questions you have. I can explain that to you.
Okay.
Item C, discuss the update of snowmobile crossing. We received communication from the administrator today that he has not received anything from the club to send to engineering to figure out different.
Okay, I thought we were gonna reach out to Mark Barden and some other engineering firm to get this done. Is that not the case?
Once they pick a permanent site for it, but I believe your motion said to not even paint the crossing at this point. And when discussed with Mark Barden, there would be markings from the snowmobiles crossing there, but it wouldn't necessarily ruin the asphalt. Is that correct? Yeah, he's nodding yes. This year we were leaving it to give them time to find.
I understand that, but I thought that if there was a chance at a different route for this year, that we could still do that.
Correct, and we have not received from them a different route yet.
All right. Well, I would like to make a motion to have our city administrator reach out to the Snowmobile Club.
They have, Rob.
Yeah.
We're waiting for a response, Ryan.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Those guys felt like this was time was of the essence, and I'm surprised that they haven't responded to Zach.
They also had 2 years prior that when it was brought up to look for a different crossing and did not respond at that time. But that's That's fine. That's the way we left it this year, was the motion to keep it where it was, not paint or to do anything to it. And that's what I think council voted on, I'm pretty darn sure. And then wait for them to come up with a solution.
I think most of that is correct, but I just thought if we got on top of this soon enough, if there was a legitimate route besides the one that we've all been talking about multiple times, that we could get that hashed out, but it's getting close to winter and I don't see that happening, so.
Gerald?
Well, I'm with Ryan on that. I'd like to see us figure out some way to push this a bit. Yeah.
Property acquisition in that area is being looked at for that purpose, but even while that happens, there's nothing we can do till we hear from them. I mean, they're still the club. Eileen?
It was my understanding that we went ahead and approved the route as it was. We weren't going to do any special surfacing. They have no motivation to find a new route at this point. So I'm not surprised at all that we haven't heard from them. Why would they put the effort into it if we approved the route as it was? We weren't going to do any resurfacing, but that doesn't affect them. It only affects the road. Just pointing that out.
Right. Well, we only did it for 1 year, but anyway,
moving on.
Reach out to them again, give them a call, see what we can do.
We will. Discuss the draft policy for brush and yard waste drop site. This is page 23 in your packet. With this one, we're looking for some direction from council on the scope and the fees of service parameters outlined on page 23. So basically, your thoughts and ideas on this.
Yeah, I was looking through this and I didn't really understand why we would charge a cost. Maybe somebody can explain that to me. I thought that by a citizen loading up the yard waste themselves, transporting it somewhere to one specific location would actually save some of our city employees time than stopping at each individual home site and picking up these sticks and leaves and stuff like that. So I was a little bit confused when I saw the $15 and $25 charge.
Yeah, it was access to the yard, the looking at it, whether or not they were local or not, because we were going to do it all the time, so it wasn't a location thing. And I mean, these are even still in just discussion. So as far as even asking for your direction on that, and Mary, you're grabbing the notes on Ryan's concern for not charging. It could be very well part of that policy. Tom?
I was just going to say I 100% agree with Ryan. I mean, this saves them time driving up and down the streets picking up brush that they're going to pick up anyway. So, I don't want to see us charging people for doing the work that would have normally been done for free.
I'm going to go back historically real quick and point something out. There for years, we were driving around almost, I don't know if it was once a week or something, that Dan sent people out to look for brush, which was a waste of gas, waste of time, or anything else. So we went to the collection week in the spring and the collection week in the fall. That being the case, there are branches that randomly fall down and people will put them by the roadside expecting them to get picked up, and they're not getting picked up right now. So then they create places for mice, they create, debris, some eyesore, whatever the case might be. They're still under the understanding that we were just going to randomly drive by and pick it up. Now, since those are two distant portions, the reason for coming up with this is that to give them a place to get rid of their brush rather than taking it out to the landfill or anything else that they would have for doing that. Yet at the same time, when it came to coming into the field and chipping or whatever, should there be a fee? And that's the policy of the council to decide, and that's why it's left there. So definitely bring your ideas. You can email them to the administrator and or Dan at that point. And once again, it'll be tweaked, but it was a change of perception of not being able to have your brush picked up until the fall. It's the fact, there could be a fee where they can actually call, so we could go there and pick it up for a fee. But then once again, what we're doing is we're saving a whole lot of time and effort having them drive around, because they'd have to drive around random roads forever. Gerald? Oh, sorry. Eileen, I think, was first. And
I just wanted to correct you. This isn't for any time of year. There's only two months out of the year, April 1st through the 30th or October 1st through the 31st. And so this isn't an any time of the year kind of thing.
Correct.
Just wanted that stated out loud.
Once again, I'm going through
watching.
the different ways that they've looked at it during this period of time. Gerald?
As you say, branches fall all through the year. I don't think a lot of people have adjusted yet to the change to twice a year. That's why they put it out any which time.
Correct.
I don't like the idea of having a fee, although if we're talking about a large truckload, maybe that should have a fee. I mean, that's not what we're really talking about here. In my travels last week down in Waukesha County, I walked by a yard, a city-owned property, let's say, with a sign that had almost the same items on here, like the bullet points, except no fee. And, that's how they were doing it. It didn't seem like it was limited by months either.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All right.
I have a question. Is the administration, is this clear enough? I think we've had several council members say we don't like the fee, and I don't want to have this come to council again and have this be a question again. And both Tom and I have said that we wanted to have this decided whether or not we can have a yard drop-off site. So, in my opinion, I think the council has spoken that we don't like the fee thing. So if anybody else does like it, please speak up.
Andrew.
Yeah, I don't agree with the fees for like the in-city, but I mean, like if they're Pine Lake or the surrounding areas, then I could see a fee, but as far as in the city, no. Because you're already looking at their driver's license, so kind of tell you where they're at.
Okay. Tom? Sorry.
I agree also that I don't think we should have a fee if there's something that happens in between the two pickup dates, spring and fall. A branch falls off the tree. You can always go to the city and say, I have this branch that fell off the tree. Is there some way you can make it disappear? And then maybe a fee would be involved, but not just to drop stuff off.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. You got all that? All right. Moving on. All right. Discussion and update of the improvements to the Little League fields at Hodag Park. This was requested to delay. So that was the request that was put in on that. Discuss, update the improvements to, wait a minute. Discuss and approve health insurance plan renewal with Security Health Plan. This is page 24 in your packet. The highlights to this at this point, as pointed out, was F. There's no changes to the health plan as it is, but a decrease in the premiums due to the positive plan performance. Wendy, thank you.
So I just wanted to let you know that Security Health had originally come back with a flat renewal rate, and then Cottingham and Butler went back and negotiated with them, and they decided that they would give us a 5% reduction in the premium. And what we have budgeted for 22, that would reduce our cost by almost $54,000. And we didn't want to change anything in the plan design because we have an open position in HR that we're going to be hopefully filling soon. So we wanted to keep things static for the employees and the new person coming in.
Thank you.
Daniel, make a motion to approve the health insurance plan renewal with Security Health Plan.
Barnett, second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please call roll as we will be paying them.
Kelly.
Aye.
Rossing.
Aye.
Daniel.
Aye.
Mikulowski.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Barnett.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Larson.
Aye.
Ayes have a motion carries. Discuss snow removal ordinance, page 27. Tom.
This seems like it's pretty much a carbon copy of last year's. Is that correct?
I would have to look at last year's too. Okay, yes.
So this is basically just a vague, what we've been doing. with no direction for the businesses on Brown Street, Davenport Street, Rive Street, how that snow gets collected again. Last year we had some real trouble with that, and I was hoping to see something more out of the box thinking wise to take care of all that. I do understand the, can't tell when the time snow is going to fall and all that kind of stuff, and that's all fine and dandy, but having a system that everybody is on board with, as opposed to this person's, believes it this way, this person thinks of it this way, that person thinks of it that way, it becomes a big mess. So I would love to see more of a work session to maybe talk about strategies for snow removal.
Okay. The consideration here was they put out the survey. The survey came back all across the board from yes to no, with no clear direction with that. So continuing with the direction we had until we have clear direction is the consideration. And once again, those are the people that it would affect at this point. Stephen came out, or was it Tom? I'm sorry. Yeah. Came up with a good suggestion, in this time being. So those are things to consider. Yet at this time, as we get close, to the snow removal time, we tell them this is the way it is the way it's been. Now, the way it's been is still new change, which they haven't learned consistency from in the past, as we've heard from Dan, stating that he's, tried something 3 times and then looked to see what happened and then, pulled back and did something different, which creates confusion also. So I believe it was going with consistency at that point till we had clear direction, and actually clear direction wasn't very clear from anybody. But
that's why I feel a work session is imperative, because we like to give clear direction, but we also need feedback on, whether that is even any kind of option is doable or not doable. Because I got all sorts of ideas to throw at anybody that wants to listen, but some of them may be horrible ideas, and no way of possibly working even in my wildest dreams. But without that work session back and forth, it's almost impossible to give clear direction on how to enhance it. So how do I make a clear direction on setting up a work session?
Make a motion for a work session.
I make a motion that we set up a work session before the next council meeting with the streets department and council to discuss proper snow removal.
Holt, second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I want to say some. Yeah, I think I agree with Tom. I know we sent out the survey for Lincoln Street, and I'm satisfied with that. I think the people have spoken. But I do think that there still is an issue that needs to be fixed for downtown Brown Street. There's been some people that have said the last couple of years the way that it's been done has changed a couple times, and I still think there's some confusion on maybe DRI's part and the streets department and how they're going to do that. So I think that this would be beneficial to get that hashed out real soon. Thanks.
Excellent. Gerald? Oops, sorry, Carrie. It was kind of Gerald?
I have a constituent who's been corresponding with me pretty frequently sometimes about the issue of snow removal that will allow for wheelchairs on the sidewalk. And so when it says safe for pedestrian traffic, let's keep that in mind too.
Absolutely. Thank you. Carrie?
I'm all in favor of having a workshop on this, but I think we need to have more than just the streets department and the council. I'm thinking, we should open it up to the businesses themselves to come and have a say as to what they might want to. So maybe DRI might be invited to this workshop.
Good idea.
Yeah, thank you. Mary, once again, making sure you get it all there. All right, moving on. Discuss. Oh, sorry, we didn't vote.
We didn't vote on them.
Yeah. Sorry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have, motion carries. Discuss the demolitions of 959 Eagle Street and 306 Thayer Street and associated contracts.
Just so everybody knows, we've been trying to get this done for a while, but the contractor that we had agreed to work with and signed a contract with has other jobs. And so the question is, do we want to go to a different contractor, or do we just want to postpone until he does have the availability?
Tom?
I've had experience with Greg Ottinger, and I had a shed that had to come down, and I waited, and finally it came down. So I'm sure he'll get to these sooner or later.
Yeah.
So I would suggest we just stay with the contractor, because if I'm not mistaken, the other contractor that bid on this was quite a bit higher as far as cost. So I would stay with Ottinger.
Agreed. We've been in contact with them. I myself have been in contact with them. It's just a matter of the product of the time right now when it comes to different things. Andrew.
I just, the 1225 property on Eagle Street, 1225 Eagle Street or whatever it is, somebody's already
959.
959, sorry. They're tearing siding off, and there's more and more garbage that's getting placed there. So I didn't know if somebody started it or what's going on with it, but
I believe they started the abatement of any asbestos. So,
okay.
Yes. Carrie?
I just want it noted that contractors everywhere are behind, so I think we just give this contractor the benefit of the doubt and not have to go through any more contract negotiations.
Excellent. So we'll take no action on this at this time.
Mayor?
You will, sorry, Tom.
Can we move L, discussion to approve resolution 2021-27 to the next item? We do have a couple of members that want to hear it, but I think they got to go.
Sure, I'm going to let Chief speak here first.
In concern for public safety, we need to do something sooner than later with the Eagle Street. We were over there on an investigation looking for some stolen firearms with some kids that stole it. The neighbors are very concerned with snow coming. If that doesn't get taken care of before snowfall, I'm concerned about somebody getting hurt climbing in that building. So whatever pressure we can put on the contractor to do that one, especially first.
Thank you. All right. Discuss inspection contracts with the surrounding townships. That moves on. And you asked to move L up.
Yeah.
All right, I'll take that as a motion. Do we have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
We're moving it up. Discuss and approve resolution 2021-27, establishment of the supervisory district lines to create wards, aldermanic districts for the city of Rhinelander. Sorry. I'll accept a motion.
Barnett, I'll make a
I
motion.
want to welcome Steve and Tom to District 4.
Yeah. Go ahead, make the motion.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2021-27, establishment of supervisory district lines to create wards and aldermanic districts for the city of Rhinelander.
And I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion. Tracy's here. They've spent a substantial amount of time working on it, but she'll speak to it. Good. Click.
So real quick for you guys, typically redistricting would have started back in February. This would have gone on for many months, and we would have gone back and forth with the city and the 20 towns. Unfortunately, because the census data not coming out till mid-August, we're on a really tight timeline. And so like the mayor said, Teresa and I spent hours upon hours upon hours the last 2 weeks looking at this, trying to come up with how to make the wards work with the supervisory districts that are proposed by the county, and then how to, after the wards are created, make your aldermanic district works. And so I believe Teresa sent you those maps last week so that you guys could look at them. They're small. I get that. It's hard to see. But if you have questions about it, I'd be happy to try and explain it.
Any questions? Gerald?
Okay, how much of a rush is it now for us? I mean, this seems like a big thing to dump on us at one meeting.
So I can take that. So if you do not pass this resolution and your wards do not get set, then that means your aldermanic districts cannot get set and our county supervisory districts cannot get set before November 23rd. That is the date that Teresa will have to post her notice for the districts that are open within the city, and that I have to publish the notice for the county. So if we don't have district lines by that date, then the districts that will be elected next spring will follow the old district boundaries, which do not meet state guidelines for population.
So that sounds like we could take 2 weeks if we wanted to.
Any further discussion? Eileen?
I just want to put it out there that I think they've done their due diligence. They've really taken some time to go through these, and they're more adept at it than I think anybody on the council is right now, so.
Yeah, let me just give some background too. All over the state of Wisconsin, this is a problem. I've dealt with at least 15 municipalities that are screaming bloody murder that are a lot worse off than yours didn't move that much. These are huge moves, but there really isn't a choice. It's the way when the census results came out, they gave the counties and the municipalities very, very little time. It's probably something that'll end up in court anyway, but I think you're better off to get this moving forward. At least I would suggest you do that, because to not do that is to put everybody in jeopardy. So as someone that deals with that on a regular basis, I would really strongly recommend your approval of this resolution.
Did I get a second?
Yeah, there's a second.
There's a second?
There's a motion and a second. And from Teresa before she left, she stressed that we get this done so that we can get the election moving and every other part. Gerald?
Should we hear a little bit about the criteria or principles as to how this was approached? I mean, all I've had time to do is look at it and yeah, okay, a few things changed. Gained about 10 houses and lost about 30. I don't know how many people that is, you know, but by and large, you know, it stayed sort of the same. But it looks like other things changed throughout the city a bit more drastically. And for one starter question, is this a reflection of a loss of population in the city?
City population went up.
We gained.
It went up? Huh.
So I do have a sheet. I don't know that it will help you, Gerald, with what you're asking, that shows the population that will be in each new aldermanic district. I don't have your guys' because I don't have as much access to the city information of your past aldermanic districts, but I can pass that out if you'd like. But the city of Rhinelander population did increase by 487 people.
Tom?
Yeah, I agree with Eileen. I think they're very capable of making the correct decisions, and I don't think the changes made to our district map are anything nefarious or anything that's not going to be following state statutes. So, I mean, if it's following state statutes, we really shouldn't be questioning it. So,
David? Oh, I thought you
Call the question, sir.
All right. Go ahead and call roll, please.
Barnett,
aye.
Larson,
Aye.
Michalowski,
Aye.
Kelly,
Aye.
Anderson,
Nay.
Holt,
Aye.
Daniel,
Aye.
Rossing.
Aye.
Ayes have it, motion carries. Discuss an approval of scope of engineering service for the installation of utilities on Olson Avenue. Mark, I'll have you stand up.
You missed one.
What? No, actually, I did not. What's that?
You need aye.
Yeah, I was.
Excuse me. Yeah, it got scratched earlier. because Robbie's not here to discuss it. Sorry. All right, moving, no, Mark, stay, don't even try. They correct me all the time. It doesn't mean people get to leave. Go ahead, fire away. Correct.
I do not have a scope of engineering services prepared for this. Zach and I discussed it, and you're seeing the estimate in the packet. It's for extending utilities, that block down on Olson, putting in a rural section. That's what this estimate reflects. I'll be meeting with Zach, Dan, and Tom tomorrow, and I'm going to talk about the proposed limits of improvements before I fine-tune the scope of services. So I would anticipate next council meeting there will be a scope of engineering services for approval.
Cool. So no action needed. Thank you.
I got a question. This is the road down by Home Depot, is that right?
Correct.
Yeah. Do we have time for just a brief discussion of part of the problem with that? Because I had some calls that I received because it's in my district. There's some issues with, there's some people down there right now that have private sewer and water, is that correct?
That's correct.
And this person bought a parcel of land down there and wants to put a home, but there's an issue with no city water or sewer, correct?
That's
Utilities?
correct.
Okay. So does this look like it's going to be worked out in some fashion to accommodate the whatever dollar home this is going to be put up, or?
With the construction of utilities, that would serve that home. If the city were to put in sewer and water, they would have services adjacent to their frontage, so they could hook up to those utilities. The other alternative would be extending sewer and water services from Lincoln Street. Laterals and services from Lincoln Street to serve that one specific home.
Okay. But they would have to other people would have to, in some amount of time, tap into that if their services go past their property?
Ideally, yes.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Stay there. Discuss and approve preliminary design scope services for Oneida Avenue area, NTE, $63,500.
So Oneida Avenue area project has been on the city's capital improvement plan, 5-year capital improvement plan for a few years, more than a few years. We've submitted ITAs, which is intent to apply for Clean Water Fund, Safe Drinking Water Fund, several years in a row. This has become the top priority for city staff to move forward with this project. It's anticipated this project would start construction in 2023. For a project like this, which is very similar in funding to a Stevens Street, where you're looking at potential block grant, Clean Water Fund, Safe Drinking Water Fund, rural development. It's ideal to start on it this time of year. So we've already started the process of talking to rural development to try and just get the ball rolling on securing funding with rural development. And block grant. The problem with these funding agencies, or I don't want to say the problem, the complexity with these funding agencies in a project of this scope, which would be about an $7 to $8 million project, is securing the funding through the city. So that process has to start early. Block grant has an application submittal date of May the prior year, so that would be May of next year. Rural development, the preliminary engineering report would have to be submitted in April of next year. Safe drinking water plans would have to be submitted by June 30th of next year. So if this is a 2023 project, it's very important to start it right now. The plan is to start the survey, get the preliminary design put together by spring, with the preliminary engineering report to submit with the application for rural development to get that ball rolling. Those plans also need to be in place for safe drinking water submittal as well. Along with that, coordinating all these, there's securing funding from other agencies to get funding from other agencies. So it's a very complex situation getting these going. So the idea was to start survey, start preliminary design for an anticipated 2023 project.
I'm going to tell you that great success with the Stevens Street project when it came to multiple sources. So this is the reason why for the early start. Gerald?
I see a total of $63,500 on an hourly basis, but it doesn't say what hourly rates would be applied to it.
Those are our standard hourly rates, Gerald. Those would be in the contracts, but they wouldn't change from our previous hourly rates. And I can provide that to Zach if you'd like to distribute that. But that the preliminary engineering, that is a not to exceed. So how we work these contracts and how we always work these with the city is we'll provide you that estimate and not to exceed. If we exceed it, we eat that unless we get prior approval from the council. If we get the work completed under that 63.5, we charge you for the work we put into it.
Tom?
I'm very happy with the way the Stevens Street project went. I think it went absolutely beautifully. The road is wonderful now. So I'm going to make a motion to approve a preliminary design scope of services for Oneida Avenue area not to exceed $63,000 and $63,500.
Holt, second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please call roll.
Michalowski.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Daniel.
Aye.
Russing.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Barnett.
Aye.
Larson. Larson. Oh, right, he did. Kelly.
Aye.
The ayes have it, yeah. The motion carries. In just in case anybody was scared, discuss and approve bills and claims in the amount of $1,372,716.02.
I will make a motion to pay the bills in the amount of $1,372,716.02.
Larson, second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please call roll.
Anderson.
Aye.
Russing.
Aye.
Daniel.
Aye.
Michalowski.
Aye.
Kelly.
Aye.
Barnett.
Aye.
Holt. Larson.
Aye.
Ayes have it. The bills are paid. Monthly reports.
Daniel, make a motion to accept the monthly reports from departments as submitted.
Anderson, second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Future agenda items. Seeing none, we are adjourned because we are at the end of our